Have you ever felt like someone was pulling at your emotions from the shadows, but you couldn't quite prove what they were doing? Have you ever noticed how some men stay calm, distant, and unreadable while your mind starts working overtime to make sense of their silence or mixed signals? Have you ever wondered why certain games seem to work on most people, but fall apart the moment they're used on a woman who truly knows her worth? Have you ever wanted to see every one of these reverse psychology tricks clearly, so you can stay unshaken no matter who tries to manipulate your peace? Welcome to time-tested advice, where ancient philosophy meets the modern world. I'm your host, Alfred. Let's get started. Have you ever noticed how some men act like they don't care, and suddenly every high-value woman starts paying attention? Yeah, that's not luck. That's reverse psychology, and it's powerful. Look, Sigma women, you're not like everyone else. You don't chase attention, you attract it. But here's the thing, some men know that they study your calm confidence, your quiet strength, and they try to use your own power against you. So today, I'm breaking down 11 reverse psychology tricks men use to get inside a Sigma woman's mind. Most men struggle when they meet a woman who doesn't need validation. They can't buy your time. They can't impress you with surface-level stuff. So what do? They flip the game. Instead of chasing, they pull back, hoping you'll lean in. Okay, now let's reveal some reverse psychology tricks men use on high-value women. 1. The I'm busy move. He suddenly becomes too busy. No calls, no texts, just silence. Why? Because he knows your time matters. He's testing if you'll notice his absence. But here's what's really going on behind that quiet distance. It's not just about him being unavailable. It's a calculated move. When a man senses he can't impress a Sigma woman with effort or charm, he flips the script instead of chasing her attention. He withdraws it. He knows that most people crave presence, but a Sigma woman, she values peace. So when he disappears, he's trying to make her question whether his silence is strength or disinterest. He's betting on curiosity. He's hoping she'll wonder, why did he stop calling, or did I do something wrong? It's subtle, it's psychological, and it works, but only on those who aren't self-aware. For a Sigma woman, silence isn't uncomfortable. It's her natural state. She doesn't chase what leaves. She doesn't beg for attention that fades. She's not sitting by the phone waiting for validation, but men still try this move because it's a classic test of emotional power. It's meant to shift control from her rhythm to his by going silent. He plants the illusion that he's the one setting the pace. He's hoping she'll step out of her composure just to match his. It's manipulation through absence. Think about it. People fear losing what they can't understand when he becomes unavailable. He's trying to make her wonder if he's something rare, someone who doesn't crave her the way others do. It's ego in disguise. And it's fascinating because it often reveals more about him than her. A man who's genuinely busy doesn't perform his absence. He simply moves with purpose. But a man using this trick performs silence like a show. He wants her to notice every unread text, every missed call, every minute of no contact is part of his strategy. He wants her to fill in the blanks, to assign meaning where there's none. Maybe she'll think he's focused, ambitious, or mysterious. That's the illusion he's selling, but a Sigma woman doesn't buy illusions. She reads patterns. She notices the timing, the tone, the inconsistency. She can tell the difference between a man who's busy building something and one who's busy pretending he's too important. She doesn't take distance personally. She translates it into data. Okay. She thinks you're distant, noted, and she moves accordingly. That's the thing about Sigma women. They don't chase absence. They replace it with clarity. They don't text twice. They don't wait for explanation. They simply mirror the energy they're given, but with grace. And that's what makes this trick backfire. The man thinks his silence will make her crave him, but instead it reminds her how peaceful life is without confusion. She doesn't get pulled into the emotional bait. She recognizes the game, nods quietly, and keeps her peace intact, because for a Sigma woman, the "I'm busy" move isn't rejection, it's revelation. It shows her exactly who she's dealing with. 2. The subtle competition trick. He'll mention another woman casually, not to brag, but to plant a seed. He's trying to see if a Sigma female will reveal her cards. Spoiler, she won't. This move is quiet, but intentional. It's the kind of trick that slips into conversation without warning, like a small test wrapped in harmless words. He might say something like, "Yeah, I grabbed coffee with this friend from work," or "My ex used to love that place." 2. It sounds casual, but it's not. It's deliberate. He's observing, studying, waiting for that flicker, the tiniest sign of jealousy, irritation, or even curiosity. He wants to know if the Sigma female will react, if she'll compete for his attention, or if she'll subtly try to reclaim the spotlight. It's a power play disguised as small talk. This tactic is rooted in ego. When a man meets a Sigma woman, he feels her calm dominance instantly. She doesn't fall for flattery, she doesn't get impressed by presence, and she doesn't play the usual dating games. So, to regain a sense of control, he tries to create a small storm, a spark of competition. He knows that most people, when faced with potential rivals, step up their effort, but not a Sigma female. When he tries this move on her, she doesn't flinch. She doesn't ask questions about the other woman. She doesn't dig for details. She just listens, nods, and changes the subject. That's what drives him insane, because in his mind, this trick is supposed to make her chase. It's supposed to make her wonder where she stands, but instead she becomes colder, quieter, more self-contained. And that silence, that's her power. She doesn't compete for space. She's already earned. A Sigma female doesn't see other women as threats. She sees them as reflections of what he values. So when he brings up another woman, she doesn't feel insecure. She feels informed. It tells her how he thinks, what he finds impressive, and where his maturity level sits. If he's using another woman's name to measure her worth, she already knows he's not on her level. It's like trying to provoke a lioness with a house cat. It just doesn't work. The subtle competition trick also reveals his fear of insignificance. He mentions other women not to show abundance, but to hide insecurity. He's testing whether his worth can rise in her eyes by showing he's wanted elsewhere. But a Sigma female's attention isn't earned through comparison. It's earned through character. The moment he starts playing this game, she mentally checks out. She doesn't argue or call him out. She simply detaches, because the second she senses manipulation, she loses interest. She knows that a man secure in himself never needs to prove he's desired. He doesn't bring up other names to feel important. He lets his energy speak for him. That's the difference. The Sigma female doesn't compete because she doesn't need to. She already knows her value, and when she sees this trick in action, she doesn't fight for attention. She gives it back quietly, completely. That's her way of saying, you can keep your games. I'm not playing, by the way. All right, let's move to the next 13, the mystery game. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, say hello, and consider subscribing to our channel. And if you'd like to support our channel further, become a member by clicking the Join button below. He gives you just enough to keep you guessing. No oversharing, no clear answers. It's meant to trigger your curiosity, but Sigma women see through mystery that has no depth. This move is one of the oldest psychological tricks in dating, the illusion of depth through silence. He doesn't say much, he doesn't reveal his feelings, and he keeps his past vague. He wants you to fill in the blanks with fantasy. When he talks, it's in fragments, just enough to sound interesting, but never enough to be real. He might say things like, "I've been through a lot," or "You wouldn't understand my past." It's designed to make him seem deep, wounded and complex, but really, it's a mask. The mystery game isn't about being private. It's about control. When he withholds information, he keeps the power of uncertainty. He knows most people crave clarity, and the less he reveals, the more they wonder he's counting on curiosity to keep her hooked. The more questions she asks, the more he wins. But here's where it fails. A Sigma woman doesn't chase answers from someone who hides behind shadows. She observes, listens, and decides based on energy, not excuses. A Sigma woman doesn't need mystery to feel interest. She needs truth to feel respect. When she senses a man playing the mystery card, she steps back. Not because she's bored, but because she's already seen this movie before. The mystery game might impress the average woman who confuses silence for depth. But Sigma women know the difference between substance and secrecy. They've met men who hide behind vagueness just to appear powerful. They recognize the ones who speak in riddles because they fear transparency, and that's exactly why this tactic backfires. Because while he's busy guarding his story, she's reading his behavior, she notices the inconsistency between what he says and what he does. She catches the hesitation, the performance, the deliberate pauses, what he calls mystery. She calls emotional immaturity. See, the Sigma woman doesn't need to know everything about a man right away. She values privacy too, but she respects honesty. She appreciates realness over rehearsed silence. When a man refuses to open up in the name of being mysterious, she doesn't find it intriguing. She finds it predictable. The mystery game only works when the other person is searching for meaning outside themselves, but a Sigma woman isn't searching. She's grounded. She doesn't project fantasy onto half-told stories. She doesn't romanticize. Distance. She's not sitting there wondering what his silence means. She already knows. It means he's not emotionally ready to connect, and that's her cue to step away, because for her, mystery without depth is just noise wrapped in quiet. She values conversations that flow, honesty that feels natural, and presence that's consistent. The mystery game fails on her because she doesn't crave the unknown. She craves authenticity. So while he's trying to make her chase with silence, she's already walking away thinking, "You don't need to act mysterious to seem valuable. Real depth doesn't hide, it shows up." 4. The agree and withdraw technique. He agrees with a Sigma female completely, then disappears. It feels like connection, but it's actually control. He's trying to make the Sigma female chase that emotional high again. This move is smooth, almost invisible at first. It starts with alignment. He mirrors her thoughts, her energy, even her beliefs. He nods at everything she says, makes her feel seen, understood, and aligned. It's not fake empathy, it's strategic mimicry. He studies her words carefully, finds what resonates, and reflects it back perfectly. In that moment, the Sigma female feels something rare. Peace, she thinks. Finally, someone who gets it. The conversations feel easy, natural, even soulful. It's not about deep romance yet, but about emotional sync. Then suddenly, without warning, he pulls away. The texts slow down. The calls vanish. That same man who once seemed so emotionally present now feels unreachable. And that's exactly how the trick works. The connection was never genuine. It was constructed to create dependence by agreeing with everything she said. He built trust fast, but it was surface level. When he withdraws, he's testing the strength of the illusion. He wants to see if the Sigma female will reach out, if she'll chase the version of him she thought was real. It's emotional manipulation disguised as emotional intimacy. The high-low dynamic plays with the brain's reward system. The comfort of agreement followed by the sting of distance. Most people, when they feel that loss of emotional closeness, try to fix it. They ask questions, they reach out, they try to reconnect. But the Sigma female, she doesn't chase illusions. She pauses, observes, and recalibrates. She realizes quickly that consistency reveals character, and a man who disappears after pretending to understand her never understood her at all. What this technique really exposes is insecurity. He's afraid that genuine conversation won't hold her interest, so he uses validation to create a false bond. But here's what he forgets. A Sigma female doesn't crave agreement. She craves truth. She doesn't need someone to echo her thoughts. She needs someone to challenge her with honesty. When he withdraws, she doesn't crumble. She learns. She sees the emotional gap for what it is, manipulation masked as mystery. And instead of chasing that temporary high, she centers herself. She knows that connection built on imitation isn't real. It's a mirror, not a bond. The man who uses this trick hopes to control her emotions, but all he does is reveal his lack of depth. The Sigma female moves differently. She doesn't chase, she replaces. When she feels the shift, she doesn't question her worth. She questions his integrity. That's the quiet power she holds. The agree and withdraw technique only works on those who fear solitude. But for the Sigma female, solitude is strength. The moment he disappears, she returns to her calm, the place he could never reach. And in that silence, she realizes the truth. Real connection doesn't vanish when it's tested. Only fake ones do. 5. The reverse compliment. He compliments you, but with a twist. You're pretty confident for someone so quiet. It sounds nice until you realize it's bait for insecurity. This move is subtle, and that's what makes it powerful. It starts with what sounds like a kind observation. He praises something about you, but slips in a tiny comparison, a backhanded edge that forces you to think twice. It's not an insult, but it's not pure admiration either. It's designed to confuse, to create a crack in your confidence, just small enough for him to step through. He might say, "You're smarter than I expected," or "You actually seem chill for a strong woman." Each line seems harmless on the surface, but underneath it's loaded with suggestion, as if you're somehow an exception to his low expectations. That's the psychological trick. He's testing how deeply you believe in yourself. When a Sigma woman hears it, her instinct isn't anger, it's analysis. She catches the energy instantly. She doesn't just listen to the words, she listens to the intention. The reverse compliment works on people who crave validation, who need reassurance from others, but a Sigma woman's validation comes from within. She doesn't rely on someone else's opinion to feel seen, and that's why this trick falls flat. The man giving the reverse compliment is seeking one of two things, control or reaction. If he gets defensive charm back, he knows he's gotten inside your head. He's hoping you'll clarify, defend yourself, or prove the opposite of his statement. "Oh, I'm not that quiet," or "I can be confident when I want to." The moment you do that, he wins. He's guided the conversation away from strength and into self-doubt. But when he tries this on a Sigma woman, the result is different. She doesn't argue or explain. She just smiles, maybe raises an eyebrow, and lets the silence sit, because silence is her best answer to manipulation. She knows that people who need to mix praise with judgment are insecure themselves. The reverse compliment is projection, a mirror of his own fragile confidence. He's trying to level the field by making her question hers, but a Sigma woman doesn't compete on that level. She understands that every time someone uses backhanded praise, it's not about her, it's about them. Their ego can't handle full admiration, so they dress it in disguise. She sees through it instantly. Instead of feeling smaller, she grows quieter. Instead of explaining, she observes. And when he realizes his trick didn't work, he starts losing control of the dynamic because nothing confuses a manipulative man more than a woman who doesn't take the bait. The reverse compliment is supposed to hook the listener into self-doubt, but with a Sigma woman, it does the opposite. It reminds her how untouchable she really is. She doesn't need to prove confidence. She embodies it. And when a man's words try to shake that, she doesn't crumble. She remembers who she is because real confidence doesn't need to be defended. It just stands there, calm, unshaken, and undefeated. If you're still with me and you're nodding along, drop a comment and tell me which of these tricks you've seen the most. I love reading your stories. They always remind me how sharp Sigma women really are. Now let's talk about the next 16, the controlled vulnerability. He opens up, but only halfway, just enough to seem real, not enough to be real. It's manipulation dressed as emotional honesty, and the Sigma female can feel it instantly. This move is quiet, clever, and calculated. It's not the typical game of detachment or arrogance. It's emotional theater, a performance designed to build trust quickly without ever giving true access. He'll share a story that sounds deep, maybe about a rough childhood, a broken relationship, or a personal struggle, but he tells it in a way that keeps him safe. He reveals the wound, but never the scar. It's rehearsed vulnerability delivered perfectly to appear authentic, yet empty beneath the surface. His goal isn't to connect, it's to draw empathy, because when people feel empathy, they lower their guard. And that's exactly what he wants the Sigma female to do. He wants her to think she's found depth, that she's finally meeting someone emotionally mature enough to be open, but in truth, it's control through emotion. He's using softness as a weapon. This kind of man understands that Sigma females are drawn to substance. They don't care about surface charm, they care about truth. So he mimics that truth. He sprinkles vulnerability into conversation, carefully choosing what to share and what to hide. It makes him look emotionally intelligent while keeping all the power. He might say something like, "I don't usually talk about this," or "You're the only one I can be real with." Those lines are meant to create intimacy fast. They make the Sigma female feel trusted, special, chosen. But what she doesn't realize at first is that he's said the same thing before to others as part of the pattern he shares, just enough to make her care, but never enough for her to really know him. And the moment she starts to open up in return, he pulls back. Suddenly, the emotional energy shifts. He becomes distant, distracted, or unavailable. That's the trap. Controlled vulnerability creates a false bond that keeps her emotionally invested while he stays detached. But what he forgets is that Sigma females sense energy, not words they can feel when something doesn't align. She listens to the tone, the rhythm, the small inconsistencies. She notices how his openness feels rehearsed. She senses the pause before his words, the way he avoids certain truths, and that's when her intuition wakes up. She realizes this isn't real vulnerability, it's performance. True vulnerability doesn't seek validation. It seeks understanding, and a Sigma female knows that difference deeply. So instead of falling for it, she detaches. She lets the space grow. She doesn't accuse or confront. She simply observes and withdraws her emotional energy, because once she spots the manipulation, she's done. Controlled vulnerability might fool others, but not her. She knows when someone's opening their heart and when they're just opening a script, and for her, emotional half-truths aren't attractive. They're exhausting. She doesn't want performance. She wants presence. And when he can't give that, she quietly closes the chapter and walks away, leaving the actor alone on his own stage 7. The push, pull, move. He gets close, then cold, hot one day, distant the next. It's not love. It's emotional tug-of-war. This move is chaos disguised as chemistry. It's a deliberate cycle of giving and taking, built to keep the Sigma female emotionally off balance. One moment he's fully present, texting, calling, complimenting, acting like he's genuinely invested. He gives attention that feels real, consistent, and warm. He says things that sound like connection, things that make her lower her guard just a little. Then, without warning, he pulls back. The messages stop. The tone changes, the attention fades, and suddenly the energy feels different, colder, sharper, confusing. That's not an accident. That's the push-pull. He's training her emotions to respond to inconsistency. When he gives warmth, it feels rewarding. When he withdraws, it creates tension. It's a psychological loop. He wants her to crave the high of his attention and fear the low of his absence. The more unpredictable he becomes, the more she tries to understand him. That's the game. He's not building love. He's building dependency. This move works on people who tie affection to approval, people who chase reassurance when connection feels unstable. But a Sigma female, she doesn't chase instability. She studies it. She notices the pattern, the rhythm, the exact moments he retreats. She realizes it's not about her. It's about control. The push-pull move is emotional manipulation dressed up as romantic mystery. It's meant to make her think he's complicated, deep, or emotionally damaged. But the truth is simpler. He's addicted to control, not closeness. He fears genuine intimacy because it requires consistency, and consistency exposes truth, so he hides behind chaos. He uses emotional turbulence to feel powerful, believing that whoever controls the pace controls the bond. But a Sigma female sees through that illusion fast. She doesn't need constant attention to feel valued. She doesn't mistake confusion for connection. When he starts to play hot and cold, she doesn't react. She recalculates. She stops matching his energy. She stops explaining herself. She lets him pull away, and instead of chasing, she pulls back too. And that's when the power flips, because the push-pull move only works if one person keeps trying to close the gap. When both stop, the game collapses, and she knows that the Sigma female doesn't argue about mixed signals. She reads them as warnings. To her, inconsistency isn't mysterious. It's a red flag in plain sight. She doesn't want roller coasters. She wants peace. She doesn't crave adrenaline. She craves honesty. So when he starts the cycle again thinking she'll react, she stays still. No chase, no confusion, just silence. And in that silence, he loses his control because the push-pull move feeds on emotional response, and without it, it starves. She teaches him something no one else has. A Sigma, female doesn't confuse chaos for connection, and she doesn't mistake attention for love. If you can't show up with consistency, she won't show up at all. Before we keep going, make sure you're subscribed. Seriously, you don't want to miss what's coming next, because the last few tricks, they reveal everything about how these guys really think. All right, let's keep going. 8. The challenge you trick. He'll playfully question a Sigma female's choices or tease her. Independence. It's not flirting. It's him testing if he can shake her self-belief. This move looks harmless at first. It usually starts with a joke, a playful comment, or a little tease that seems funny on the surface. He might say something like, "You're too independent for your own good," or "You probably don't need anyone, do you?" It sounds light-hearted, but the intention underneath is heavier. He's not trying to make her laugh. He's trying to measure her response. The challenge you trick is a control test, a way to see how easily a Sigma female's confidence can be bent or questioned. He knows she carries herself with calm certainty. She's not boastful or loud about it, but her energy speaks volumes. So instead of admiring it, he probes it. He pokes at her strength to see if it's real or just armor. It's psychological, a test of emotional solidity. If she reacts defensively, he wins. If she doubts herself even a little, he gains ground. He might frame it like banter, but it's strategy. He's watching to see if she explains herself, if she tries to prove she's not too independent, or if she softens her tone just to keep the peace. That reaction tells him everything he needs to know about how much control he can gain. But when he tries this on a Sigma female, the effect is the opposite of what he expects. She doesn't defend herself. She doesn't shrink or justify. She just looks at him, smiles, and moves on because she's not playing. She knows when teasing turns into testing. She knows when curiosity hides insecurity. A Sigma female doesn't take offense easily, but she also doesn't miss subtext. She can feel when a man's playful challenge is really an ego-driven attempt to lower her power, and she doesn't bite. The challenge you trick is rooted in male insecurity. It's the subtle need to bring a powerful woman down a notch so he can feel taller. He can't handle her independence, so he masks his discomfort as humor. He wants to see if he can make her second-guess herself, even for a moment. But what he doesn't understand is that Sigma females don't base their confidence on anyone's approval. Their self-worth isn't fragile. It's not built from compliments, validation, or attention. It's built from solitude, growth, and experience. So, when he questions her independence, she doesn't hear an insult. She hears exposure. His words reveal his discomfort with strong women, and once she sees that, she loses interest because to her real strength in a man isn't about challenging her. It's about respecting her. A secure man doesn't test confidence. He matches it. He doesn't tease her power. He admires it. The Sigma female doesn't argue, doesn't explain. She simply steps away from anyone who mistakes her strength for arrogance because her confidence isn't a wall, it's a filter. It keeps the insecure out and lets the worthy in, and no challenge can shake that 9, the disappear to dominate tactic. He goes silent after getting your attention. He's hoping you'll miss him. Think about him. Maybe even reach out first, but a Sigma woman, she just moves on. This move is cold, intentional, and deeply manipulative. It's one of those quiet tactics that looks like indifference, but is actually a calculated grab for control. The man who uses it knows the power of absence. He knows that silence can echo louder than words when it's aimed at someone who cares. So after he's gained your attention, after he's built some emotional tension or shared a few meaningful moments, he vanishes. No text, no explanation, just sudden distance. It's not because he's truly busy or uninterested. It's because he wants to create imbalance. He wants to become the one who's being thought about, the one who holds emotional leverage. By disappearing, he's betting that you'll start questioning yourself. Did I do something wrong? Was he ever serious? Should I reach out? Those tiny doubts are exactly what he's counting on. The more you think, the more control he gains. That's the disappear to dominate tactic, emotional power built through withdrawal. It's not about space or mystery. It's about dominance disguised as disinterest. He wants to make the Sigma woman feel a void and mistake it for longing. But here's where it collapses. The Sigma woman doesn't chase shadows. She doesn't romanticize silence. She understands that communication defines connection, and when that breaks, so does interest. When he disappears, she doesn't spiral. She observes. She knows when distance is genuine and when it's a mind game, and instead of waiting or wondering, she simply redirects her focus because the Sigma woman's attention is her most powerful currency. And she spends it wisely. She doesn't waste it on inconsistency. She doesn't crave validation from someone who plays ghost to feel powerful. For her, silence isn't tension, it's information. It tells her everything she needs to know. A man who disappears after getting her attention isn't mysterious. He's immature. He's not powerful. He's predictable. The Sigma woman doesn't chase energy that fades. She respects it and steps away. And that's what makes her so dangerous to manipulators. She doesn't give them the reaction they crave. The moment he disappears, thinking she'll miss him, she's already re-entering. She goes back to her goals, her peace, her priorities. She doesn't play the waiting game. She plays the moving on game because she knows that real men don't use absence to build attraction. They use presence to build trust. The disappear to dominate tactic fails because it's built on assumption. It assumes she needs the connection as much as he needs control. But a Sigma woman's peace doesn't depend on anyone's attention. When he disappears, she doesn't chase closure. She becomes it. She closes the door quietly, without resentment, without regret, because to her, anyone who needs to vanish to feel powerful was never worth her focus in the first place. 10. The over-apology reset. After crossing a line, hurting your feelings, or creating chaos, he suddenly shows up overflowing with apologies, tenderness, and promises to do better. Not because he's truly changed, but because he wants to hit an emotional reset button without earning it. He might say things like, "I'm really working on myself," or "I've never felt this way about anyone before," wrapping his apology in flattery and big emotional statements. On the surface, it looks like accountability, but underneath it's a shortcut, a way to skip the real work of growth and jump straight back into your good graces. He's hoping the emotional intensity of his remorse will overshadow the pattern of his behavior. A Sigma woman, however, doesn't measure sincerity by words in a soft moment. She measures it by consistency over time. She notices whether his actions actually shift after the apology, or if everything slowly slides back to the same disrespect and instability. The over-apology reset is meant to soften her boundaries, to make her feel guilty for staying firm or stepping away. But instead, it clarifies everything she sees, that he's more invested in being forgiven than in being different. And when she realizes that, she accepts the apology, keeps her peace, and still walks away, because for her, real change doesn't need emotional theater. It needs proof. 11. The future fantasy hook. He paints a vivid picture of the future with you, talking about trips you'll take, places you'll live, even the way your life together could look. Not to build something real, but to lock you into an emotional contract he never intends to honor. He might talk about moving to a new city together, starting a business, or building a power couple dynamic, all while avoiding concrete steps in the present. These future scenes feel flattering and intoxicating, especially to someone who craves depth and purpose, but for a Sigma woman, they're data points, not destiny. She listens to the promises, then watches what he actually does. The future fantasy hook is designed to keep you emotionally invested, even when the present feels inconsistent or empty. He's hoping you'll stay for the potential, not the reality. But the Sigma female knows that potential without action is just a story. When she sees him repeating the same grand visions with no real movement, she quietly detaches from the illusions he's building. She stops investing in the someday he talks about and starts investing again in the today she can control, because her life is too valuable to be spent waiting on a future that only exists in his words. Here's the truth. Reverse psychology only works if you need validation. But Sigma women, you don't. Your strength is your self-control. You don't chase, you observe, you don't react. You decide. And that's what drives these men crazy, because most people are predictable. They respond to silence with fear, to withdrawal with anxiety, to mixed signals with chasing. But Sigma women break that pattern. They don't feed the game, they end it. A Sigma woman's calmness in chaos is her secret weapon. She doesn't get emotionally played because she's emotionally disciplined. When a man pulls away, she doesn't panic. She pauses. When someone tries to test her, she doesn't overthink. She reads energy. She's the woman who makes the manipulator question his own strategy. And that's why these games collapse. Reverse psychology is built on reaction, and Sigma women are impossible to trigger. They've mastered detachment not as coldness, but as clarity. They know when attention is genuine and when it's tactical. They can tell when someone's trying to control the dynamic. That's the difference between power and presence. A Sigma woman doesn't need to prove her worth through anyone's approval. Her silence speaks for her. Her boundaries protect her. Her energy commands respect without asking for it. So when a man tries to use mind games to dominate her, he ends up exposing his own insecurities instead, because reverse psychology only works on those who seek validation from the outside. But Sigma women, they already validate themselves from within. That's what makes them rare, and that's what makes them untouchable. So yeah, men might try these tricks. They might think they're clever. They might think they're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. But what they forget is a Sigma woman doesn't play by anyone's rules. She's her own standard. She doesn't need to manipulate or be manipulated. She doesn't perform to impress, and she doesn't compete for attention. Her presence alone shifts the room. She understands the game, but never lowers herself to play it. That's real confidence. That's quiet dominance. And it's the reason most men who use reverse psychology end up confused, because when you expect a reaction and get composure instead, you lose power. A Sigma woman's detachment isn't coldness, it's control. Her peace is her weapon, her standards are her filter, and that's what makes her unstoppable. She knows her value so deeply that no trick, no silence, no manipulation can touch it. If you've seen any of these moves before, tell me in the comments which ones stood out. Maybe you've dealt with the silent type, the mysterious act, or the emotional tug-of-war. Share your story. It might help another Sigma woman recognize the pattern And if you want more real talk about dating, power, and mindset, check out my next video. Because this isn't just about love, it's about staying unshakable, no matter who tries to test your peace. Stay grounded, stay graceful, and remember the real power isn't in reacting. It's in staying calm, knowing exactly who you are, and never letting anyone make you forget it. In the end, every one of these tactics is just another reminder that your awareness, your boundaries, and your self-respect are your greatest protection against manipulation. The more clearly you see these patterns, the less power they have over your heart, your peace, and your future. When you stay rooted in who you are, no reverse psychology can rewrite your worth or your standards. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'm your host, Alfred, and I read every comment.